mine either. I'm sure they're overwhelmed with
Yeah,
the distribution of that stuff. So hopefully we'll get it soon. Be good. We even were just talking about the weather kind of taking a shift, and it was so like warm and sunny. Well, it wasn't warm, it's been cold, but it's been sunny. And it's been so nice. And it's gonna be a little rainier for the next little while. And I've noticed like I prefer the rain over the really, really cold stuff and the snow and things. But I've noticed that I kind of get a little bit like down when it is rainy for consistent days. And it's so frustrating that like I realize that it's helpful that I can recognize that that's why I'm feeling down. So I can just say, it's okay, this weather is going to pass. I can be with this. I don't have to be sunshine and rainbows all the time. But it's still a little frustrating that I still can't turn it off. Just be like, no, I'm just going to be happy. So, but the awareness is what helps, right? The awareness of it is what's important. And it's acknowledging that I have this other thing. And like the next step would be eventually, perhaps I can get to the place where I'm not really bummed out when it's like 3 days of rain in a row, but I'm still working on that. But the awareness being the first step is often the hardest thing. And we see this in our practice all the time. It's, having some body position thing that you're not quite realizing was like off or, not quite setting you up for a pose or walking or moving or whatnot. It's once we have the awareness of it, then we work on doing something about it. And not to say that we have the awareness and then all of a sudden it's perfect all of the time, because I often have my feet in weird positions and my knees going up, such and such. And there's always something, but we have to have the awareness of it in order to tune into it. And I was reminded of this discussion when I was reading some stuff by Thich Nhat Hanh. We were talking, our great teacher's passing, and I wanted to read this to you because it's really beautiful. It's funny how much our surroundings influence our emotions. Our joys and sorrows, likes and dislikes are colored by our environment so much that we often just let our surroundings dictate our course. We go along with public feelings until we no longer even know our own aspirations. And we become a stranger to ourselves, molded entirely by society and our environment. Sometimes I feel caught between the false self imposed by society and what I would call my true self. How often we confuse the two and assume society's mold to be the truth self. These are our loneliest moments. Yet every time we survive such a storm, we grow a little. Without storms like these, I would not be who I am today. But I rarely hear such a storm coming in until it is already upon me. And when such a frenzied hurricane strikes, nothing outside can help. I am battered and torn apart, and I am also saved. And I have seen now that the entity that I had taken to be me was really a fabrication. My true nature, I realized, was much more real, both uglier and more beautiful than I could have imagined.
You know which book that's from?
I don't think it's from a book. I think it's actually from an essay and a discussion. I was getting it from that newsletter that I often get some saved things from. So yeah, I don't know exactly where that was from, but it's just so good. And it's so true, right?
Yeah.
We can.
I've got a reading that I share on our next meditation on Wednesday from Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah.
I've got something for you after the class too.
Oh, good. I'm excited.
Something to read like that.
Oh, good. I love new things to read and sharing things to read because get good stuff. Okay, so we're gonna start with face brushing. Take your index finger and thumb together. Go from the forehead outwards towards your temples. And then from the sides of your nose out to your temples. Underneath your chin, brushing in and out. And then pressing the spot in between your nose and your mouth at the corners. And moving your fingertips underneath and behind your ears, massaging the soft spot and lifting upwards from the bony spots. Taking a nice big breath in. Breathing out. Relaxing your hands into your lap, closing your eyes if it's comfortable to you, and taking a few deep breaths. Practicing that sense of awareness. Noticing what spots in your body seem to be drawing more of your attention, if anything feels good or off. Just feeling what you feel. Taking another deep breath in through your nose. Let the exhale out through your mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. Om. And as you open your eyes, starting to set yourself up in child's pose, walking your fingertips out and knees wide and snuggling your hips back. Take some small movement side to side in your hips as long as your knees are okay with that little shift. Starting to unravel, loosen up the lower back. This also might give a little roll of your forehead on the floor, which can be a nice massage there. And then bring both of your hands over towards the right side of your mat. You can place your left hand on top, relax your head down again. Gently pull the left hip back, finding a little bit more space through that left side, and take 2 more breaths. And move your hands over towards the left side of your mat. Maybe the right hand goes on top, rest your head, pull the right hip back. One more exhale. And then coming back into the center, crawl your hands out a little bit further if you can. Relax your head down, feel your hips drifting back away from your rib cage. Take a big inhale and a big exhale. And picking yourself up onto your knees. And bring your knees in underneath your hips and then walk your hands out in front of you, coming into puppy dog pose. If it's a little early for your shoulders, bring your forearms on top of each other. So you're holding your elbows, that could feel a little bit better. Let your tailbone roll up, your heart get a little bit heavier. Take 2 more breaths like this. And then start to lift yourself back up, just enough that you can walk your knees back and lower your hips down, coming into Spanx Pose. Press your hands down, roll your shoulders back, take your eyes up and down. Working them out a little bit, going right to left. And taking some circles in one direction. see if you can take a circle really slowly. So you have time to see. And move your circle in the other direction. And blink your eyes out a few times. And land down onto your belly, make a pillow for your head. With your hands, you can wiggle your pelvis side to side to loosen the low back again in case it got a little sticky. And slide your hands in by your low ribs, pull your elbows and your shoulders back, and then lift your heart up. Nice low cobra, pause there. Relax your jaw muscles and your neck and your throat. Maybe you feel a little bit more open in your heart. Take another breath in and exhale, lower down. And then take your hands out a little bit wider and then come up into Cobra pose again. It's going to require a little bit more of the strength in your center. See if you can also relax your heart breathing in and then lower as you breathe out. And then bring your hands back in by your ribs. We'll go up one more time into Cobra. And staying for just a full round of breath here. And then lower it down. And then roll over onto one side. We'll just talk about the top side and the bottom side. Lay down on your bottom arm, if that feels okay to you. And take your top knee, and you're gonna pull it in by your shoulder. You can use your hand to hold on to it, so it doesn't have to be too difficult to hold on to. Dropping your hip down, feeling like your thigh bone's gonna point down towards your bottom foot. Kathy, take the leg up in front of you like this, so it's getting a little bit more in the hip. Is that okay? You can hold up by the knees. Yeah. And then instead of your foot's a little bit back here, take the foot forward a little bit more. Does that feel okay? Okay. Take breath in. Breath out. And then relax this leg. You want to straighten out your bottom leg and come into fallen tree pose. So you're going to put your foot on your bottom leg, put the top foot on your bottom leg. Your knee points more or less up towards the ceiling as much as you're able to. If you make your body really, really long, it's going to be harder to balance. So if you want to test out your balance here by making your body really long and not having it hinge in your hips. And then notice if you're still breathing here. Relax the top leg and roll over to the other side. I'm just going to flip around here so I can face out towards. So let your legs be soft to start off with to get that big hip stretch. You're going to take your top arm, reach up and hold onto your top knee, pulling the knee up towards your shoulder so that you're getting some hip opening. And then relax your thigh bone down to your bottom foot rather than feeling it hike up towards your shoulders. One more round of breath. And then relax that leg. You're going to straighten out your bottom leg, put the top foot on the bottom leg. So you're in tree pose, but falling down. And then the longer you make that shape in your body, the harder it is to balance. If you wanted to take the top hand and lift it up off the floor, it's also going to make it harder to balance. Yeah. Noticing if you're still breathing. And then go ahead and relax the top arm, unwind that leg, and then roll yourself forward onto your belly again, finding Spanx Pose. Roll your shoulders back, press down into your elbows, feel your chest moving forward. And then you're going to sneak your hands back into Cobra pose, just like slide it back. And then lower. And then come forward again onto your elbows to come forward into Spanx Pose. And then you want to try to keep your chest lifted. It's going to drop down, but try to keep it up and just sneak it back into Cobra. And then bring it back. And one more time. Last really hard thing for a while. Take a big breath in. Exhale, sneak it back. And And then push yourself up, back to your hands and knees. Lock yourself in. I'll say, so you can take your right foot and bring it outside of your right hand. If you want to bring a block underneath your hands, you can always give yourself a little bit more room there. And then you're going to take a little stirring around in your hips. So you want to move your hips around. You'll feel some of that tension starting to get worked through as you move. And then move your circle in the other direction. And then when you have had about enough movement, start to find some stillness. Let your heart kind of lean forward. You can even walk your hands further forward if you feel like you've got a little bit more space now. And just take a few easy breaths. One more exhale. And then you're going to start wiggling your right foot in so you can put your right hand on it. And then lift your heart and your shoulder and twist over towards the right. Yep. As you do, push down into your right foot so you can start to feel a little stretch on the outside of your thigh. Breathing in. Breathing out. And unwind yourself. Start to slide this right leg back. You'll bring both knees back and then sending your left foot forward. You'll bring it outside of your hands so you've got enough room to have your arms down. And then start to make some small circles around in your hips. Moving your circles in the other direction. When you're ready to be a little bit more still, finding some of that stillness, relaxing your hips, trying to stay steady in your breath. Now your hands can go further forward if you've got space for it, if you like that. One more breath out. And walking your hands back in a little bit. You're going to wiggle your foot in a little bit and then bringing your left hand up to your left thigh. Lift your heart, roll your shoulder back, start to twist over towards that front leg and push the foot down, softening your belly. One more exhale. And relax your twist. Start to bring your legs back. Take a hand, shake it out, and flick water off of your fingers. And do so for the other side so that you've got the blood pumping down into your hands. And then press down and curl your toes. Lift the hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Strong all the way through the arms. Beautiful. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then bring your feet towards your hands and your hands towards your feet and gently work your way up to standing. Grab some water. So. And then coming into a warrior two. Taking one foot forward. Finding that good lunge. And then looking down at your leg, and a lot of times like going towards the big toe is still a little bit turned in. So if you think of going towards like the second or the third toe, get a little bit more open through the legs. And start rolling the palms up and down just to loosen those shoulder joints a little bit more. Relax your back hand down, lift your heart forward towards your front hand, send it up. You have a little bit more room to lift that heart up, so that'll be your front hand lifting up to peaceful warrior. And then bringing your front elbow down. So you've got that bend into your front leg. And then take your top arm up, lifting up through your shoulder. Let the palm and the heart face the same way. You'll turn your palm to face right in front of you where your gaze goes. And then take that arm up and over your nose. And reach out through your pinky finger and down through your pinky toe. One more exhale. And start to lift yourself up. Turn all 10 of your toes to face towards the long side of your mat and bring your hands down to a block or to the floor, to your own legs. You can bend your knees to give yourself some space. Try to relax your head and neck. One more breath out. Start to bring your hands back up onto your legs, standing yourself up and then switching your feet so that or you can change your feet out or face the back of your mat, it doesn't matter. Find a warrior two in the other direction. Put a good bend into your front leg. Make sure your shoulders are both open out towards the sides and then start rolling your hands up and down so that you're moving the arm bones around in the shoulder sockets. Nice lunges in the front knee. And then take your back hand down, turn your heart towards your front hand and lift that hand up. Keep pressing down through both feet and reaching upwards through your heart. One more breath in. And then as you exhale, bring your elbow down to your knee, try to keep that leg bent and then take the top arm up, lift your shoulder up, palm facing the same way as your heart. And then taking the arm up and over your nose, reaching towards that back wall there. Try to relax the backs of your ears. Sometimes the head tilts back here. Big breath in. Big breath out. And then lifting yourself up, turning all 10 toes to face out towards that wide side of your mat again, and then coming down again into that forward fold. If you can turn your toes in slightly, you can get a little bit more of the outer shin relaxed, especially those of us who walk a lot. Those get tight. Relaxing your head, trying to think of like that spot at the backs of your ears. Release that space down. Letting the neck stop holding so tightly onto the head. Big breath in. Big breath out. Then little bend in your knees, bring your hands to your hips and start to stand yourself up. You're gonna change your legs. So right now they're facing forward. You're gonna turn so that the knees and the toes face out. Put a little bend into your knees. And just check out that you've got the same turnout of your knees and your toes. So your feet are gonna be able to go out a lot wider than your knees are. So you might wanna turn your feet in a little bit more than they could be. And then straighten your legs, reach your arms up. And then we're gonna pull the elbows out wide, sit your hips down, keep reaching those knees out the same direction as your toes. And come up again, take a breath in. Slowly exhale and pull it down. One more time. Try to keep your knees out as wide as you can. Come on down. And then take one hand down, reach the other arm up. Keeping your hips in the center. Nice. Switch sides. Reaching up. It's a really difficult balance shift here. And then come up with both arms. Straighten your legs, lift up even taller. And then relax your arms down. We're going to bring the feet into touch. And once you get them into touch, sit back into your hips, coming into a little chair pose. Making sure that your weight is back in your heels so you could lift your toes up at any point. Straightening up into the legs again. And then cross your right leg in front of the left. Squeeze your thighs together, sit your hips back again. So you've just got the front toes touching. Bend deeply into the legs. You're feeling, so you want to have bent legs. So you want to be sitting just like you were in chair pose. So Tom, rather than trying to fold forward, lift your heart up. Yeah, up more, like way more, a lot more, a lot more. Yeah. Your heart should be all the way up here. Yeah, it's like, it's really just that your tush drops back. Yeah. Very different than the cross-legged fold. And then come back up and then switch your legs. Take the other leg on top and then sit your hips back so the chest stays lifted the whole time. Just eagle pose without the arms. One more exhale. Then uncross your legs. You're gonna, what side? Okay, so now take the right leg and step it back behind you. And do cross it over. And you can put a little bend into your front knee. That's probably gonna make it a little bit easier. So rather than being here, I'm gonna have it behind you. Yep, and closer, a lot closer. So I'm just right here. Yeah. Just have that little cross. So your back leg, your right leg, reach that arm up. You should be crossed over. You should have a cross in your legs here. And switch sides. So take the leg back and then move it over towards your right and then lift that left arm up. Deep breath in. Breathing out. Relax your arm down. Take both feet up and towards each other. Leave your feet a little about hip width apart or looking at those bony spots in your hips. And then without lifting your big toes up, can you lift up through like the arches of your foot? Yeah, because the tendency is that they start to roll forward and then the arches get a little bit weak and then the knees start to fall inwards. So feel the inside middle of your foot starting to lift up and then put a little bend in your knees, just a little soft one. See if you can still feel that where the inside edges are lifting up and then come forward like maybe halfway into a fold, still feeling those inner arches lifting up. More breath in, breathing out, and then coming forward a little bit more. See if you can keep the inner arches lifted up, and you might have to take breaks. Like it might get a little bit intense, a little bit hard to keep up with. So you can always stop for a moment and then see if you can bring it back in. One more breath in. Deep breath out. And then start to bring your hands up your legs, coming back to standing. And then our big balance pose today, we'll take warrior 3. So if you wanted to come closer towards a wall or anything to hold on to, just in case that seems like a good idea, you can do that, or we can stay here on our mats. We're going to come into what my teacher calls this the position of power. This is like the Egyptian hieroglyphic for I know what I'm doing here. This is the clever facade maybe, but you want to have the weight on your front foot so you can lift this back one up at any time, but you want to feel that leg reaching back behind you with those toes down. And then you're going to lift your heart up and feel your biceps pushing into your thumbs so your wings are nice and strong to carry you and fly you as a warrior, lifting that back. And you don't have to go very far. You can go just barely lifting the toes up. Maybe you're still feeling pretty open and you can go forward like you're going to go parallel to the floor, but keep reaching that lifted leg back. Awesome. Ooh, maybe I'm going to fall over. One more exhale. And then come on up. Relax your foot down. Having weird equilibrium for weeks. I fall all of this. Like, look out, I don't know. So don't, maybe, I don't know. Maybe like the cold or something. That's another thing to look at. And also just stop looking around the room while I'm trying to balance. Follow my own advice. Okay, so find that position of power on the other side. It's also a lot like, it's like that idea, like you go like into the mirror and you make a big, like, fierce pose and then you feel more confident. So get that power going and then start to lean your heart forward and lift those back toes up, coming into warrior 3. And it doesn't need to be parallel to the ground. Looking awesome. Keep that power going, keep that breath going. And then stand yourself up Put your foot down, relax your arms, then wiggle your shoulders around because it gets kind of intense to reach back that way. Nice. Yeah, why not? That's good. You gotta get the, you got it. Yeah, beautiful. Awesome.
You're stronger. I'm always laughing.
That was beautiful. That was great. More
Okay,
solid
just
than I
stand like
was. We're gonna do a little stretch for the outer hips before just one more standing pose. So as you come into a fold, you can bring your hands down or to a block, and then you're gonna bend more into your left leg than your right leg, and then bring your right hand up to your right hip. So we'll twist over and towards the doors, a little outer hip stretch. One more exhale. And then switch sides, bending more into your right leg and lift that left hand up. One more breath out. And then both hands down, bend your knees, relax your head and neck. And keep the knees bent, start to roll yourself up. You can always walk your hands up your body in order to get up to standing. Lift your arms up. Feel the hips going slightly forward. The weight is in your toes. The heart lifts right up towards your hands. Take another big breath in. And then let your hands come back down to your heart. You're gonna find warrior one leg, so take 1 foot forward, 1 foot back, and you can start off just checking out that you are not crossed in your legs at all, and then straighten your front leg. And you can go hands to your hips or arms behind your back as you take your chest forward. And a pretty big hamstring stretch. As far as you would like to go, just feeling the breath, maybe feeling a little bit wobbly from side to side. One more exhale. And lift yourself up, relax your arms, switch sides. Your arms back, your heart forward, straighten the legs and come forward over that thigh. One more exhale. And lifting yourself back up, releasing your arms, bringing your feet up towards the front of your mat. And then lifting your arms up again, feeling that reaching of your heart up to your hands, really long through the spine, and then putting that same kind of reaching energy into your down dog. So fold forward, plant your hands down, walk your feet back, and then you're still pushing and reaching your heart up to your hands or down to your hands. Try to relax your head, relax your heels, take a really big breath in and a big loud sigh. And gently lower your knees down. And then come to a seat. You can swing your legs out in front of you. And then draw your right leg in, cross it over, lift your left toes, hug the thigh, bringing your right fingertips in real close. And then as you lift up through the backs of your ears, every time you breathe in, soften your belly. Every time you breathe out, moving into that twist. One more exhale. Relax your twist. Take a little counter twist over towards your left. And then turn it forward again. You're going to keep scooching this foot over to the side until your thighs are a little bit more crossed. And they might not get very much more crossed at all. And you can bring your hands behind you if that feels good, or start to bring your hands in front of you. And this is probably going to get pretty intense into this bottom hamstring. It's definitely going to be a little bit into this outer hip. So one more breath out. And then start to come back up and unwind your legs. Send the right one forward and tuck your left one in, crossing it over if that works for you. Hug the thigh, lift your right toes, lift your spine, and then soften your belly. Just keep pulling this thigh in and softening your belly in. One more breath out. And then relaxing that twist, take a small counter twist over towards your right, and then returning to the center. And you might stay here coming forward. You might be able to scooch the foot over a little bit or a lot of it. And then you can take hands behind you if you're not feeling into the fold, or hands a little bit further forward if you feel like you've got space for it. Take breath in. Breathing out. Start to unwind yourself, start to unwind your legs, and then take them out as wide as is comfortable to you. Starting with the hands behind you to lift the chest up and feel it moving as much up in front of your heart as possible. Try to push the balls of your feet out, like right through the big toe mounds. And then if you've got space or the desire to come further forward, you can, or you can keep yourself lifted and propped from behind. Take a few more breaths. One more exhale. And then coming up and bringing your legs up and together, and then we'll start to move down onto our back. So you can take your knees in, and I'll go ahead and hold up. Take some long time down here. Starting off with your feet on the floor. Now just cross your right thigh all the way up and over your left. So just like eagle legs, where you've just got thigh on top of thigh. And then push down into your left foot, scoot your hips a little bit more over towards the right, and then take a little twist where you might just drop your foot down to the floor. Your right foot kind of falls over towards the left there, yeah. Try the other way, Tom. It's a small twist, but a big hip opening. Take breath in. Breathing out. One more round of breath. And bring your legs back to the center. Unwind them. You'll have to wiggle your hips back towards that neutral space. And then take your left leg and cross it over your right. So you've got the thigh on the thigh. And then you'll push down in your right foot, hop your hips a little bit over towards your left. And then as the legs roll over towards the right, you just stop where the foot catches you. So it's a little twist, but a big hip stretch. Notice if your left collarbone is getting tense, if things feel like they're a little rigid, and then see if you can soften into those places. One more nice long exhale. And then coming back to the center, wiggling your hips back to the center, slide your legs out long. And then take your arms and reach them up behind you, finding an X shape. So you're stretching out in all directions. And take a really big breath in, let your body soften as you exhale. Take your right ankle and place it over your left ankle. So both legs are over on the left side. And then take your right arm and move it over to the left side. And you can use your left hand to hold on to that right hand as you pull out long through your right side. Roll that right hip down to the right, roll the belly gently over towards the right. One more exhale. And unwinding your arms, unwinding your legs, coming back to that open X shape. And then placing your left ankle over your right ankle, both legs at the right side. Left arm moving over towards the right side, holding on to the left arm with the right hand and pulling out long through the left side body. Relaxing your belly down and over towards the left ever so slightly. One more breath out. And unwind yourself, coming back to that X shape. Take another big breath in, feel your body filling up. And then as you exhale, let it all go. Gently bringing the feet back in. So the feet are planted, the knees are bent. And then taking your right ankle up onto your left knee, you can take the right arm in between the legs and hold on to the left leg if you want, or just leave the foot on the floor. Taking a few deep breaths, letting your hips feel a little bit heavier, letting that rotation start to develop in the hip. A few more long, deep breaths. And then gently release your right foot down or left foot down, unwind the right leg, let that foot down. And then just wrap up the other side. So left ankle on the right knee. Maybe you hold the right leg. Maybe you just leave the foot on the floor. Breathing into the sensations that come up, trying to allow your body to soften. One more breath out. And then unwind your legs, set the soles of both feet down. Wiggle your heels in nice and close to your hips. Roll your shoulders under your back. Press the hands down, press the feet down. Lift your hips up into a low bridge pose. Maybe you can wiggle your shoulders in more. Maybe you like to hold hands underneath your back. Feel those feet pressing down. Maybe your hips are able to rise up a little bit higher. And then relax your shoulders, start to lower the hips back down onto the floor. We'll go up one more time, just seeing if there's any more room to lift up a little bit higher. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. Push down in the feet, feel the hips lifting upwards. All four corners of the feet. One more breath in. Relaxing your shoulders and allowing the hips to move back down to the floor. And taking your knees into your chest, giving yourself a hug, maybe rocking gently from side to side. Let your arms open up and your knees roll over towards the right side. Take a moment to survey the body, see where you can relax, see where you can soften. Set yourself up so that this twist is really yummy, that it's just in a good space for you. You feel comfortable, you feel supported. Staying for 3 more nice long breaths. And start moving your knees over towards the other side, finding a similarly set up twist, that place that is comfortable, that you feel supported. It's really good and easy about being in it. Your belly softening every time you exhale. One more round of breath. And then coming back to the center, setting your feet down and letting your knees knock in against each other. You might put a hand at your belly and a hand at your heart to take a moment and tune in. You can perhaps notice if anything has changed, if anything feels differently or feels very much the same as when you were checking in towards the beginning of practice. Not with any judgment, just with discernment, just with that practicing attention. And when you're ready, starting to relax yourself into a place where you feel good about resting. So it can stay with the knees bent, maybe the legs slide out and the arms flop open. But even rest in any position at all. You could take a seated meditation. Rest very well. It's funny how much our surroundings influence our emotions. Our joys and sorrows, likes and dislikes are colored by our environment so much that often we just let our surroundings dictate our course. These are our loneliest moments. Yet every time we survive such a storm, we grow a little. I saw that the entity I had taken to be me was really a fabrication. My true nature, I realized, was much more real, both uglier and more beautiful than I could have imagined. And as you start to take yourself back into awareness, to breathe a little bit deeper, allow yourself whatever small movements are calling to you. Rolling over when you're ready onto one side to pause in gratitude for this practice, for being able to share this time in this space together. And then bringing yourself up into your own version of a comfortable seat. Hands at your heart, heart left uplifted. Seal our practice, releasing an Om together. Big breath in. Om. Bowing down to the love and light that resides within each of our hearts. Namaste.
Okay.
Thank you.